good, you're good. Okay, good afternoon to you all. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shadi Abu Zaid, faculty member at Georgetown University. I oversee with the faculty director 4 programs: cybersecurity risk management, artificial intelligence management, and applied intelligence, and information technology management. Today, I'm here about the cybersecurity risk management program. So, at Georgetown, let's just start by looking a little bit at some of the numbers. I just looked them up over the weekend, so just to keep them a little bit updated. If you look at it, cybersecurity costs were a country, they will be the third largest GDP in the world, twice actually Germany's GDP, if they were a country. So the cost is really going up exponentially on all fronts. If you look at it, the ransomware remains one of the fastest growing cyber threats, increasing at a growing 67%. The same thing, phishing attempts, it's around 58%. If you look at the data of breaches involving humans, this is why this is important to us. If we keep it in mind, 74% is related to human, whether it is error, whether it is doing something by mistake, vulnerabilities that's coming out of us as humans. Now, why is this important? Because it's going to tell us why we need to think about cybersecurity in a totally different way. So moving along, if we look at the NICE framework and the different frameworks provided to us by our federal government, there are two main tracks in cybersecurity. One is called the technical track, and the other one is called the non-technical track. So for us at Georgetown University, we decided to go down the path of the non-technical track, and I will explain why this is so important to us. So the non-technical track, this is mainly we're looking at the risk, policy, governance, and communication. These are so crucial for any related cybersecurity information that we might be looking at. If we look at some of the roles that we look for, are risk manager, cyber policy analyst, legal advisor. Now, why is this important? Because it's going to allow strategic thinking, ethics, legal, and regulatory fluency to come into the mix in terms of what we're looking at. Some of the jobs that people can grow towards are CISO, governance, risk, and compliance managers or directors, cybersecurity consultants, and so forth. Now, the strength of the non-technical part, it's leadership ability, cross-functional insights, and also risk mitigation by itself. Now, this is important because most breaches today stem from poor governance and stem from misaligned policies, a lack of training, or communication failures rather than just code vulnerabilities. And this is why we had in the previous slide the 74% in terms of human-related aspects. So moving along, why it's important for us to went down this track and why we're pursuing it even to the extreme is for us, we got the National Center for Academic Excellence. We received the CAER, the research, for the PhD in collaboration with the computer science. And also for us, the Masters of Professional Studies for the Cybersecurity Risk Management as a program of study has been approved. And now we're in the process, literally the last coming 2-3 weeks, we're going to become also CAE CD Cyber Defense. So both of them, these are accreditation by the NSA Center of Academic Excellence. And we're so proud to have them. Now, the thing about, if you look at Georgetown's program focus, strengths, and so on, there are 3 main elements why this is important. We focus on organizational security risks. And it's important to understand it from an organizational perspective, where the loopholes are, how are we going to be managing that operation itself. But also to understand that we, as a university, we build interdisciplinary professionals. So we don't want to look at it as a silo because cybersecurity goes across different functions. It doesn't come from one function, it does from all of us as humans working in an organization. But also the way we design it is designed for working professionals, whether they're in the business, legal, policy, and leadership backgrounds. So we want it to be more comprehensive and encompassing different functions that we're looking for. So moving along, in terms of our program, so we have 33 credits, so 11 courses. Each course is 3 credits, divided into 3 buckets. The first one is the core courses. We have 2 that fall under the core courses. The first one is the ethics. Normally, this is the first course you take, and the capstone is the last course you take. I'll have one slide about capstone because we have two options in it. I teach one of those capstones, and it's really very enlightening what we do in this program. So moving along from the core itself, if you look, we have foundation courses. The foundation courses are 2, 4, 6, 7 courses in foundations, starting with the information security, cybersecurity governance framework, information assurance and risk management, security architecture design, information security laws and regulatory compliance, the communication, and the last one, disruptive technology and organizational change. So the way we looked at it is we need to look at how all functions contribute to the risk within our organization, cybersecurity. And at the end of the day, you have the ability to select from 2 electives that we have more than 100 courses that are available for you to select from at the university. So moving with that, I mentioned about the capstone itself. So we gave it 2 options for the students so that they can select upon their requirements. One is more towards the simulation. So you're going to go through a full semester long simulation. You can have different roles at different stages within the capstone itself. So you can have different scenarios you're going to be faced with at different stages throughout the semester. And your role, based on the role you have, you're going to see how you're going to be reacting to it and how you're going to be interacting with it as you move forward. The second one that's really dear to my heart, and this is the capstone research. And I teach this every semester, both online and also in person for those who are interested. And the beauty of this one is that it allows the student to really roll up his or her sleeve. So you select the topic. We will work with you so that you can really work through the whole semester for you to study it and deliver by the end of the day a full research paper related to that particular topic. Now, I just put in here literally this academic year between the fall and the spring, just some of the topics that we looked for. I'm going to pick on a couple of them. Internet of Bodies. How many of you has an Apple Watch or something similar? Hey. Well, these could be a risk for all of us. So one of our students studied the risk that's stemming from the Internet of Bodies. It's not just the Apple Watches or what have you, but also some of us, they might have pacemakers. These are all devices that can be connected and that can become harmful. So we studied how the impact of cybersecurity and all of those. Another one is the AI, quantum computing, and the future of cyber conflict. One of them looked at the understanding China's MCF, the military fusion, civil fusion strategy in cybersecurity sector. So we collected so many open source intelligence to understand how China is actually looking at cybersecurity within their own military doctrine. Last but not least, modularizing incident response playbooks to promote scalable management. So there are plenty of topics, and that's why the capstone research is one of those we provide to our students. So moving along, what differentiates us from other is the faculty that we bring on board. So our faculty really, they go through a huge spectrum from government, even the White House. One of the individuals used to work at the White House, all to the private sector. And all those individuals, they really bring the best they can practical aspects to the classroom, day in, day out. And we have some of them here sitting without mentioning the name. They teach in different programs also. So just to look at Kemba Walden, for example, she's former active cyber director in the Office of National Cyber Director. So this is some of the names that you're going to be faced with, whether we're looking at KPMG, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, and other companies that we have brought on board. So this is the variety of faculty that you're going to be working with throughout the program. Last but not least, I just wanted to take a little bit about AI because a lot of sessions, this is the AI conference. So I said in here, AI will automate many technical roles, but not judgment, trust, or leadership. That's where our graduates thrive and the human layer of cybersecurity. So this is really the area where we work in. So no matter what happens, people need to judge, people need to lead. And this is why our cybersecurity program falls into this field itself. Myself and James and the team were here. If you have any questions, we're more than happy to answer them after the session. So from us, let's raise the bar at Georgetown University, and thank you for coming.
Can I do this? Is this yours? Hey folks, how are you? Good. I'm gonna get all tripped. My name's Doug Umberger. Can everybody hear me okay? Excellent. I represent the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University, and I was happy to see some of you already taking photos and being really engaged. A quick show of hands just to kind of gauge the audience and get a little bit of a temperature. How many of you are actually looking to continue your education? Maybe go back to school, get a graduate degree? I'm seeing some, which is good to hear. Good. Considering it. So I say it, and thank you, Shadi, as well. This was super comprehensive. Everything that was just presented was on behalf of the School of Continuing Studies, and it's cool to pull back the curtain a little bit and just talk about Georgetown at large, because there's a lot of different, similar to sectors, a lot of different schools within Georgetown University. There's the School of Medicine, many know the Law School, there's the School of Continuing Studies, the McCourt School of Public Policy, but we represent the School of Foreign Service. We are the oldest school of international affairs in the United States. We go back to 1919, so literally at the cusp of the Great First World War, and not too dissimilarly from those times as we see today. The world was in political disarray and strife. There were tensions on an international scale, and we as the very first school of international affairs were on the front lines to address those concerns. So it's interesting how cyclical it could be. During my time, I really want to keep this conversational, kick it back to you, questions, comments, concerns, however we can help otherwise, because I am not, unfortunately, a cyber professional. I do not teach nuclear nonproliferation. So what I do, though, which is my bread and butter and area of expertise, is admissions and enrollment and next steps in the process. So if you are considering to continue your education, I would like for this to be a little bit of a case study in that regard. Pick my brain, how you apply to programs, anything along those lines there. So the School of Foreign Service, some very quick history. The term foreign service, first and foremost, was founded at Georgetown. It was coined at Georgetown University, and 5 years thereafter, the State Department actually plucked it from us. So it's good to have sort of that prestige and that history there. But I think one thing that is perhaps a common misconception about Georgetown at large is the fact that of the 18,000 students at Georgetown, 13,000 of whom are graduate students. There's a far higher likelihood of you passing a fellow graduate student than there is of that of an undergraduate student. And what's more, we do have a Capitol campus, which is in the throes of downtown, and that's fantastic. But the School of Foreign Service is entirely held on our main campus, which is a key distinguisher. Think Georgetown, so you have the lush forest, you have the Gothic architecture, you have a really collegiate headspace to carve out a couple years of your life as you continue your studies. Within the School of Foreign Service, we need to talk and sort of compartmentalize it a little bit further. There are 11 individual graduate programs. They range very far and wide. You're talking about the general IR degree, which is the Master of Science in Foreign Service. You have other thematic ones like Global Human Development and Migration Studies, for instance, or even Security Studies, which is what I represent. I'm the Director of Admissions and Alumni Engagement for the Center for Security Studies. Apologies, the mic keeps cutting in and out. To the contrary, there are those that are focused in regional area studies, thinking Asian studies, Arab studies, Latin American studies, and the like there. I say it because each and every one of those programs have radically different admissions processes. They have different faculty members. They have different curricula. Perhaps most importantly, they have very different student experiences. The Center for Security Studies and SSP, Security Studies Program, is the only one that allocates a part-time student experience. You're able to work a full 9 to 5. All of our classes are taught exclusively in the evening. So again, it goes back to you. If you are looking to carve out 2 years on a full-time scale, there are a lot of programs that are able to accommodate that. So a little bit about the history there and just all of the different programs. Within the Center for Security Studies, just because we are at an AI Expo and it's worth acknowledging, our portfolio, as you kind of look into it, is unique. And that's only because we have that part-time student contingent. We have 500 students within the Center for Security Studies. The second largest program is about 220 students. So very different. Some of the smaller programs go as small as 20 students, 20, 30, 40 students. So again, it goes to you. Even though we're a large program within SSP, we keep everything incredibly individualized and incredibly focused. We cap all of our classes at 18 students. All of our classes are taught exclusively in the evening. So again, it's up to you how you want to fill in the day, what you want your 9 to 5 to look like. But perhaps most importantly, you're able to go into the program and be a generalist. If you want to touch on international security studies, AI, nuclear nonproliferation, cyber, and the like, you're able to do so. Or if you want to double down and leave as a refined expert, tee yourself up for a JD or a PhD, you're able to do so just the same. So it is up to you to decide in that regard. So you go through the program. I can't help but to plug our wonderful career center that's here. So we have a career center within the School of Foreign Service. They work with us, they know our students. So you'll have, just trying to think of sort of the Greek chorus of folks and resources for you. You'll have an academic advisor, you'll have a faculty mentor, you're gonna have a career coach. So these are professionals in the field who are gonna navigate you through every single step of the program. Whether you are looking to brush up your resume, whether you're looking to set up a mock interview, they bring employers on a regular basis to campus. So again, they take the additional measure in that regard. Within SSP, we have an alumni mentor program. So it's quite simple in the sense that all you have to do is raise your hand and say, hey, we're looking to connect with an alum who has this type of profile, this type of background, who lives in XYZ location, and we're able to matchmake in and throughout the course of the entire program. So again, just to know that there are a series of different resources that are here for you. Talking briefly about the admissions process in particular, you know, there are all the bells and whistles. You're gonna have your resume, you'll have letters of recommendation, of course, the application in and of itself, but I'm always on the record in saying that it's the statement of purpose that's going to matter the most. And it's tough to conceptualize who you are, what you've done, what you ultimately want to do, and how we as a program are going to get you there in about 500 words. It requires a lot of finesse and technicality and a skill set and a concision that we're looking for on the admissions sort of view. And that is important to sort of pull back the curtain further to talk about the admissions committee. Within security studies, within the Master of Science in Foreign Service, we have very similar admissions processes. For SSP in particular, we have 150 people on our admissions committee. Every one application is read by at least 3 to 5 individuals. You'll always have an admissions professional, a faculty member, and an alum, in addition to a selection committee at large. So there's no one sort of audience, there's no one vantage point or perspective that you have to build your narrative to in and throughout that journey. So it's important to kind of zoom out and just reflect in that regard as well. Any questions, friends, comments, concerns? I'm just kind of pontificating over here. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, thank you. The question was about cost and scholarships, the million-dollar question, quite literally. So within the School of Foreign Service, every single program is going to be a little different in that regard. SFS, we at the graduate level charge by credit. So it does kind of go back to how many credits are that program, if that makes any sense. In some cases, it's up to 48 credits. We're a 36 credit program. It goes down in some cases to 32. But nevertheless, it's about $2,600 a credit. But perhaps most important, every single student is automatically considered for all of the merit-based scholarships. Important to note that at the undergraduate level at Georgetown, they're only offered on a need-based basis. But at the graduate level, it is offered on a merit-based basis. So we are able to disseminate funds and go out with funding just the same. So just to know if there is a hypothetical where you're admitted into a program but don't ultimately qualify for merit-based scholarship, you can appeal the process, keep the conversation at the surface, because if you are admitted into any of our programs, we want you to pursue the program. We want you to enroll and walk across the graduation stage. So we keep it back and forth and we keep it as conversational as possible. Other thoughts, questions? Yeah, of course. Good question. All right. If there are any AI sort of tools that are taken, or if they're influencing the statements of purpose. So Sort of connected to this are the greater GRE. So the GRE is an optional piece to the portfolio for all of the graduate programs within SFS. So if you choose to go GRE optional, which the majority of our students actually do, you are required to submit an analytical writing sample up to 600 words. This upcoming year and cycle, we are actually administering a new policy that requires students to cite, to source, to be well read, to be up to snuff, and there is going to be language regarding AI tools and making sure that everything is commensurate in that regard there. Are we seeing an influence? No, because again, these students want to be on the front lines of the industry, but just to know that we and our faculty are being cognizant of how it's kind of shifting the industry at large. Thank you. Last question, yeah. Yeah, we get the question a lot as to what, how somebody can be competitive or have more bolster the value of their application in and throughout. For those who have, I think the most operative word is relevant experience. It's good to be tapped into the industry. There is no age, so that should not be a deterrent at all. Whereas we have undergraduate students that are matriculating directly from their undergrad degrees who are bringing a whole skill set of analytical framework and that sort of regard. We have folks that are well into their 40s and 50s who are, seasoned professionals out in the field and are looking to pursue a graduate degree for a career shift. So again, there's no rhyme or reason, or there isn't one thing in the greater portfolio that's the nuclear consequential part or make or break. But the key is relevancy. We can have any applicant who applies to our programs with a fully robust resume and portfolio, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily relevant or there's a dotted line or that it mirrors your greater statement of purpose or, a part of that greater narrative there. So it's always something just to know we're 933 is our booth, but reach out to us. We're real people. We keep this incredibly humanized every single step of the way, and we're here to champion you in and throughout the admissions process. So that is the time that we have. Thank you all very much. Take good care of yourselves.